Miles Morales is Miles Morales. However, you know just as much as I do that they have been trying to shoehorn Miles Morales into Peter Parker's Spider-Man space. Miles Morales is the real Spider-Man now because we are completely eliminating an existing character and pushing him out of the picture. He doesn't matter anymore, especially, well, first they're going to cuck him, then they're going to push him out of the picture. All right, that is what has happened, but now, I mean, it's already been going on enough in the comics. Well, now they are trying to do this in the video games as well. If you don't want any spoilers about Spider-Man 2 because you are you have ingested enough soy to actually want to play the game. I'm sorry. Some of my friends play it. No offense. Just anyway, apparently this is going to have some story campaign spoilers in it. So if you need to take your soy and leave from the video, that's okay. I understand. Let's go ahead and dive in. This comes to us from Gizmodo, where it says Spider-Man 2's writers break down the game's big spoilers, okay? And we've already seen in headlines and stuff all over on Twitter. Basically, in the next game and moving forward, Miles Morales, he is Spider-Man now. Okay. I have a lot of opinions to be said here, and I'll share some more as I continue reading this. But let's move forward. Insomniac Games' Brittany Morris and Ben Arfman on creating the twist and turns throughout Marvel's Spider-Man 2's story campaign. Okay? So here we've got spoiler warnings. Like the original Spider-Man and Spider-Man Miles Morales before it, the recently released Spider-Man 2 is a bombastic superhero journey with two Spider-Men on hand in Peter Parker and Miles Morales, plus the introductions of Kraven the Hunter and the alien symbiote who will become Venom. The sequel can't help being a bigger beast with more stakes and big plot turns worth talking about. Naturally, we just had to pick the Insomniac Games team's brains about how those decisions were made and what they could possibly lead to down the line. Days before the game's release, Insomniac's narrative director, Ben Arfman, and advanced writer, Brittany Morris, had a spoiler-heavy discussion with IO9 about Marvel's Spider-Man 2, which covers both the main story and some side mission content. Now, before I continue on this, I'm just going to say, I don't know how regular, like, super Spider-Man fans, right? Because, I mean, I grew up with Spider-Man. I like Spider-Man. But I'm talking super fans, like the equivalent of how I am with Lara Croft and Tomb Raider, for example. I don't know how they can actually tolerate this duo, even the duo, not even to mention the, Miles Morales taking over, but just the duo element of it, because I just know if there was a Tomb Raider game that came out and it's like, oh, here's a secondary character that's going to take up half of the limelight, I would be furious. And now the only game we've actually seen that kind of happen, in terms of especially classic Lara, which I care about, the new stuff, I'm not invested in that whatsoever right now. But in terms of classic Lara, we had like Curtis Trent in Angel of Darkness, for example, but he was in just a very minute section of the game, in terms of playable character. So I forgave it. I was okay with it because I did like Curtis as well as a character. But would I ever like a character to roll in, especially one that imitated her? Because even in that case, Curtis doesn't imitate her. Here we have someone that's literally they're calling him Spider-Man. So if there was here's another woman who's an archaeologist who is like Lara Croft but different, we're gonna throw her in and give her, a huge spotlight in Lara Croft's own franchise, I would be furious. Just saying. And I'm about to sneeze. Trying not to. Okay. So, anyway, I don't know how Spider-Man fans do this, I don't know how they're I don't get it. But anyway, let's continue. So, Justin Carter, IO9, let's start with Kraven, who comes to New York looking to find a worthy opponent. How'd you settle on him having killed several of the first game's main villains, which hangs over much of the story's events? All right, you know what? I don't want to read all this crap. I don't give a crap about like this Kraven, this Venom. If you want to see all this stuff, you can. But my big focus right now is the Miles Morales. Okay, so there was like a continue reading tab. All right, so this says, you said earlier you basically knew right away that you wanted playable Venom. Does that also apply to ending this game with Miles as the main Spider-Man from now on? All right, let's see what Morris says. Morris says, it always felt very natural, and I think we all collectively thought it would happen. To me, it shows a great deal of evolution from Miles. At the beginning of the game, we see him struggling to figure out what he wants to do with his life. By the end, we had Miles carrying the burden of saving the city, and also carrying Pete when Pete wasn't strong enough to carry himself at various points. See, exactly. It's like, okay, we need the main character to actually need to get carried, physically actually carried by this character that we're trying to get overshadow him, right? That's what's been so cool about writing a story about two Spider-Men. They're both strong, and one of them can be strong when the other is not. By the end, Miles is more confident, and he's like, yeah, I got this. How much worse can things get after what we just went through? And then Arfman says, to echo what Brittany said, the idea of a two Spider-Man story was always really essential to this game. I think pretty early on we knew that we wanted to have that moment of handing the reins over. That's what we see with established franchises all the time. Surprise, the reins aren't being handed over to a woman who's better than him at everything, but I digress. And as we developed it, as we started to lay down more track leading up to that moment, it just felt more and more right. I think it was John who wrote that scene in Aunt May's garage, and it's one of my favorite scenes. The way that Miles intuits exactly what Pete is thinking and stops him from stumbling through trying to hand over the mask. Miles going, I got this, bro. It's such a great moment between the two of them, and it felt like such a natural collision. I'm not sure when specifically we decided to do that, but it always felt like the only way the game could end. Okay, so they keep talking about, okay, so now they're doing this. All right, that's basically it, right? So yeah, this, I mean, you should be able to see the writing on the wall with all this. I mean, a duo, you start out, you have the original Spider-Man game, right? That's focused on Peter Parker's Spider-Man. You got the DLC, Miles Morales, I mean, to me, it's a standalone, but it's basically DLC, right? It's Miles Morales' own adventure now. All right, there's the introduction to video game Miles Morales. Then, let's put them together now. I mean, it's the writing is all there on the wall. You can see this from a mile away, especially since this is very current day writing to take an existing character and have him overshadowed by usually a woman or someone who's not a white male in this case. So, yeah, that's exactly what has happened. And I'm very curious to see how that will go, because on Twitter, it was like this is already making rounds on Twitter. It's like, Miles Morales is going to be the main Spider-Man in the next game. Miles Morales is taking over Peter Parker, blah, blah, blah. I quote tweeted it, and I'm like, let's see how long this will last. Because I'm curious, will this stand on its own? Will this be as much of a success? And, some people's rebuttal is just like, oh yeah, look at this. The Miles Morales game sold 6 million units. And they just, oh, haha. Well, how many of those units are you accounting for that were not a part of a bundle, the PS5 bundle? Because when I got my PS5, for example, they were extremely difficult to get. One of my friends won a contest that let you buy one. That's how I got to get one, because my friend already had one and let me buy it from them winning the contest. So in that case, I couldn't pick and choose. I didn't get to pick and choose what bundle. I took what I could get, and that was the Miles Morales bundle. And, I tried the game. At first, I was like, oh, wow, this is pretty cool. Okay. And then I was like, oh, wait a minute. As I kept playing more, I'm like, this has a lot more of everything I hate about modern gaming. Okay? the QTEs, the constant chatter, the over dramatic storylines, things like that. It's too much focus on story and cutscene, like the HUD, especially when it comes to open world, where it's just like writing everywhere, the HUD, characters talking to you, telling you what to do, your own character talking to you, the spidey senses giving you a direct, obvious answer on what to do instead of you having to figure something out on your own for once. Things like that. And when it comes to like an open world game, does it really feel that open world if you've got prompts telling you where to go? If you got prompts telling you every little thing to do? Oh, take this many cats out of the tree. You need to rescue 5 cats out of a tree. Here's one tree with a cat in it. The other one's here. The other one's here. And the other one's here. It's just like, okay, then you're just doing fetch quest. That doesn't feel like an open world game. It's just like, oh, here's a checklist. Okay, now I do this. Done. Okay, now I do this. Where it's just like, dude, why don't you work at freaking Instacart and get paid for it? I like open world like Elden Ring, where it's just like you don't have your handheld. You're actually exploring this place and figuring out what to do. You don't have all these prompts all over the place. You don't have 5 million cutscenes. You don't have characters just not knowing when to shut up. You actually have this experience that feels like you're a part of it. So anyway, my main point was how many of those sales were from the PS5 bundle. Also compare those sales to what like Spider-Man and all this, Spider-Man 2. So what is a Miles Morales game going to sell like without Peter attached to it? And without it being a part of a bundle or something special like that? What's it just going to do on its own? We'll see. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe people will love it. But I don't know. I think a lot of people are getting sick and tired of seeing their faves be taken over. And I mean, the Miles Morales animated Spider-Verse cartoons did well. So I guess there's potential. And speaking of those, I liked the first one. I refused to watch the second one after that trans kid flag that was in Spider-Gwen's room. I was like, no, that's it. I don't care. I don't care if it's an obscure thing. Like, I'm not gonna do it. Not gonna do it. All right. Anyway, so there you have it for today's video. Thank you all so much for hanging out with me. Let me know what you think in the comments below. Don't forget to read your Bible today. And if you want me to read the Bible to you, you can check out my Bible channel, Bible Time with Melanie Mack. I'll also have a link in the link tree below and here on the end card. Hope to see you there. Thanks again. I'll catch you next time. And in the meantime, go boom.